problems keep you from rising above the ordinary. Don't let your problems keep you from being something special. Do something special and get something special from God. Be a Jabez. We need a few more people with the Jabez spirit who will expect challenges and welcome challenges and overcome challenges, because we're talking about Jabez today because he did not let his challenges defeat him.
All right.
I said he did not let his challenges define him. He did not let his challenges deter him. And he did not let his challenges defeat him.
Amen.
He had a painful name. He had a horrible childhood. He came from a dysfunctional family. But he did not let any of those challenges keep him down. He refused to allow his disadvantages to chain him to an ordinary life.
All right.
He did not raise a white flag and say that he was doomed to a defeated life. How often do we let the challenges of life defeat us? People have a bad habit of looking at people who are successful and start hating on their glory.
That's right.
When they don't know their story. I think I just said something. I said there are too many folk who specialize in hating on folks' glory. They see people in the evening of their lives on the mountain of success, but they don't know all the stuff they had to go through to get where they are, to have what they have, and be able to do what they're doing. I said, don't hate on my glory if you don't know my story.
All right. All right.
Let me read you a recent Jabez story about a beautiful African-American lady named Barbara Smith Conrad. That might be a name you're familiar with. It is a documentary that every young person of any ethnicity should see. It was released last week. It's called When I Rise. It's a powerful story of Barbara Smith Conrad, a gifted University of Texas music student who became a target of racial discrimination and ultimately ascended to the heights of international opera.
Man.
Celebrated mezzo-soprano, was among the first 104 African-American undergrads to be admitted to the University of Texas in the 1950s. Only 16 years old at the time. Barbara Smith Conrad had made her way to Austin from the tiny crossroads of Center Point, Texas, deep in the East Texas Piney Hills. Her youth and rural upbringing notwithstanding, her remarkable voice earned her recognition and a scholarship. And in 1956, she was cast as the female lead in the School of Music production of Henry Purcell's opera, Dido and Enos. But the male student cast opposite her was a white girl, was an Anglo, and a cross-racial romance, even on stage, generated controversy. Smith received threats to her safety, and state legislators, did you hear what I said? State legislators put the screws to the University of Texas president, Logan Wilson, warning of cuts in funding if Barbara Smith Conrad was not removed from the cast.
Man.
2 weeks before the opera was to open, the College of Fine Arts Dean, William Doty, told Smith she could not appear in the opera. That prompted the Austin newspaper, the Daily Texan, to run a front page story headline, Negro Girl Withdrawn from UT Opera Cast. 2 days before the opera opera was to open. Students rose up in Smith's defense, protesting her removal from the opera with a petition that collected 1,500 names. National news outlets picked up the story, bringing Sidney Poitier and Eleanor Roosevelt, among others, to voice support and to be able to portray all over the country in news broadcasts about how horrible it was for the University of Texas to be that racist, and the state legislature aided. Harry Belafonte offered to pay a full scholarship for her to attend anywhere in the country. She chose to stay. I said she had an opportunity to have a free education anywhere in the country, but she chose to stay.
Right there. Work it out.
Because she wanted the world to know she was no quitter.
Work it out.
She rose to be one of the celebrated names in opera all over the world, because she decided she was not a quitter. That she had a Jabez spirit. I'm glad to say that in 1990, around 1990, the university brought her back to try to make amends for what they did 50 years ago. The state legislature gave national recognition for her, and they also made national apology for what they did. But my point is, people who see Barbara Smith Conrad in the newspapers around the world hating on her glory, but they don't know her story. I said, that's the Jabez. That's the Jabez spirit. Jabez said, don't hate on my glory when you don't know my story. Somebody need to testify with the Jabezes and the Barbara Smith Conrads of the world. Before you hate on my glory, you ought to let me tell you my story. Because life for me ain't been no crystal staff. You weren't there when my grandmother and grandfather made $1.20 a day. They made 10 cents an hour, and they were only able to collect 80 cents $1.20 a day to get children through school. I'm talking about somebody need to be able to say, you weren't there when my grandparents had to put cardboards in their shoes to keep their feet from being on the ground. They were making sacrifices to get 7 and 10 children through high school. And now we have children who don't even want to go to school. I say, before you hate on my glory, you need to let me tell you my story. Some of you can say you weren't there when I was raised by a single parent who worked 2 jobs so 4 children could have food to eat and a place to sleep. Somebody ought to be able to say, you weren't there when I had to work a full-time job, take a full load in college of 16 hours, do work study, and graduate with honors. And we now have children who have a scholarship, free money, and a car, and they flunk out of school. Somebody need to tell them about the story. Hating on my glory, but you don't know my story. Somebody need to tell folk, you weren't there when I was aggravated by my enemies. You were nowhere around when I was blasted by my birds. You weren't there when I was cut by my calamity. Somebody need to say, you need to know my story. You were not there when I was devastated by my disasters. You were not there when I was frustrated by my fear. You were not there when I was hassled by my hardships. You were nowhere around when I was pounded by my problem. So before you hate on my glory, you need to let me tell you who are successful know something about overcoming challenges.
Oh, yes, sir.
And I'm here to tell you, if God